In this episode of the Great Aussie Build Off presented by eBay and Sparesbox, we supercharge our XR8.
Everything we've been doing to our XR8 Ute so far has essentially been preparing it to make more power. We upgraded the oil pump, changed all the fluids, new engine mounts, new clutch, we did all new suspension in the car, upgraded the brakes, and now it's time for the party to really happen and make some extra power in this thing. Now, if you remember back to our first episode and our conversation with Omar from Empire, he basically said that don't even bother trying to make more power naturally aspirated with the modular engine. And to prove that, we actually did install the extractors and a full exhaust system and took it back to the dyno at Empire, and it only made 7 kilowatts more than when it just had a catback exhaust. But we do need that full exhaust system for the future power levels that we want to make. So now the challenge is we need to find some forced induction for this car on eBay. Now, turbo kits are really difficult for this car, there's not a lot of room in there, so let's go find ourselves a supercharger kit.
With the Great Aussie Build Off rules dictating we can only buy from eBay and we can't custom fabricate anything, we're extremely lucky that Kappa Performance make a complete FG XR8 supercharger kit. Kappa has a long and great reputation of making great supercharger kits, so it was an easy decision, and we went for the intercooled option. We then jumped onto the Sparesbox eBay store to grab a PWR performance radiator. With boost on the way, we also wanted a catch can and breather lines. More luck, as Ants Performance make an FG Falcon kit. There is an option for both rubber lines and braided lines, which we went for. As we were using Sparesbox's eBay account to purchase parts, they collected all of them for us before they delivered them all over in one go.
Well, the Kappa supercharger kit has arrived, and as you can see, it's rather comprehensive. Fills up our entire 2 benches. Let's take a quick look over what parts are in this kit while I go and study the 38-page instruction manual for the installation.
The Kappa intercooled supercharger kit for the FG XR8 Falcon is very comprehensive. The centerpiece is the Vortec V3 supercharger. It has a sealed oiling system, meaning no oil lines or drilling into the sump, which makes installation much easier. It has a TurboSmart blow-off valve attached, and it uses a laser cut mounting bracket and comes with all the hardware required, including an automatic tensioner. There is a new windscreen washer bottle and an intake with a K&N filter. The Vortec water-to-air intercooler comes with a water pump, lines, wiring, and a charge cooler. We went for the intercooled supercharger kit, as cooler intake air means more power, and it also provides more consistent power. The kit also includes an upgraded fuel pump assembly, larger injectors, and an upgraded map sensor so you can have the car tuned to suit. The PWR radiator is a piece of art, expected from PWR, and is thicker and more efficient than the factory item. The Ants Performance Catch Can Kit is designed to fit the FG Falcon and comes with braided lines that you cut to suit your specific model of Falcon, plus press-in fittings for the cam covers.
All right, Grub, I sent you the instructions a week ago.
Yep.
Did you read them?
Is just before I came here, okay?
Look, I just want to know, did you even read them at all?
Yeah, I looked
over Because that's our first step.
I looked over them.
You looked over them?
Yeah.
All right. So the big question that I have, though, is do we follow it exactly to a T, or do we make some slight variations based on what we think? Because the only thing I'm worried about is we have a PWR radiator, and this says not to remove the radiator. Right. So do we quickly swap out the radiator first and then go back to the instructions?
Doesn't it say to take the water out anyway? So
you still got to take the hoses off.
Maybe we just take
I think maybe we swap in the PWR radiator straight up, and we have new radiator hoses. So I think we swap the swap them first,
Yep.
then do the supercharger install.
Well, these instructions look very comprehensive. So
They do look pretty good, don't they?
considering like most car parts you buy, you're lucky to get even a, hey, thanks for buying this and here's a guide.
Well, there's a reason you don't usually read instructions, just because usually quite often they're useless, but this is pretty good.
Of products you get given, you actually can't fit very well.
This is pretty good. We are going to have to follow this.
Yeah.
The only thing that we're not going to do here ourselves is fit the injectors, and that's purely because in theory, we should be able to start this thing up on the same injectors. We can't really drive it, but we can at least start it up, and then we'll probably just put it on a tow truck over to Empire, and then they'll put the injectors in, the tune, and then they'll get it tuned, and that's it.
Sweet. Hey, Hawko, have you ever fitted a supercharger before?
Dude, I've never owned a car with a supercharger. I've never driven a car with a side mount supercharger on it. I've never bloody held one, picked it up, let alone installed it. So this is, like this, it's the first Ute I've ever modified. It's the first V8 I've modified. First car with leaf springs I modified. And it's the first supercharger ever fitted.
Same. I've never fitted a supercharger, so I'm excited.
All right,
Straight,
let's do this.
All right.
So the adapter for the crank pulley bolts onto the factory pulley, which is pretty cool, but it's a very tight fit to get in there. We've had to clean it, sandpaper it, and we're going to put a bit of lube on there, bit of a shifty, you know what, just so we can get this thing in, line it up, do it up before the main pulley goes on in front of it. So it's pretty hectic, huh?
Yeah, it's well made.
So our current dilemma with installing the supercharger kit is all of the instructions and the entire kit was done with a factory radiator, and I really wanted a PWR aftermarket radiator for obvious reasons, because you can do bigger burnouts for longer, correct? Now, that was a great idea in theory, and we thought we'd be all good, but believe it or not, the 20mm difference in the end tank has caused some clearance issues with where lines go and things like that. But one of our biggest problems is actually just purely when you look at the difference in length of the end tank to the radiator hose, or even just the distance from this locator stud to the end of that. If you get this and go, okay, we're talking, 51 mil versus,
Oh, it's easily 70.
Jesus, that's 77 mil.
Yeah.
So we've gone from 51 to like 26 millimeters difference for where the radiator pipe's going to sit, and unfortunately, the radiator pipe sits right in front of the tensioner.
Yeah.
So it's literally just, more than anything, this radiator hose is our biggest problem, to the point where we don't even think we'll be able to use the PWR radiator with this supercharger kit. And the rules of this are, we can't fabricate anything. So if we could, cut this off and re-weld it and modify it, we could make it fit. But the rules are no fabricating, no welding. So
we're out.
We're probably going to have to go back to the factory radiator, unfortunately. Now, if the car was naturally aspirated, this would go in no problem. The actual radiator goes in very easily.
Yeah, fits perfect.
It's just that this radiator doesn't fit with this supercharger kit. That's no one's fault, and we maybe should have checked with Kappa first.
It's an oversight, but it happens.
It is what it is. So unfortunately, we're going to go back to the factory radiator. Maybe after the competition, if the car desperately needs a radiator, we might switch it in later. But for now,
well, the thing is, like this, people use this factory radiator to make really good horsepower on XR6
Yeah,
turbo.
and it's not about coping with the power, it's about coping with the extra heat for longer. So if we want to do laps of the circuit, this could let us down.
Yeah.
If we wanted to do a 7-minute burnout, well actually it's 1 minute. If we wanted to do a 2-minute burnout, if we wanted to do a 2-minute burnout instead of a 1-minute burnout, we may not be able to. Like this will help obviously absorb more heat and you can sort of do more for longer. But
so I can drive with this one, you can only drive with that one.
Correct.
All right.
Let's put this back in.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Well, it's the end of day one of working on the installation of the supercharger kit. My goal was to basically at least have the supercharger in, and we've done that.
Yeah.
Good work.
Well done.
What hiccups did we have? Well, the instructions were really good to start with for a factory car, i.e. factory radiator. If we hadn't put the PWR radiator in, we would have got back a couple of hours, I reckon.
Yeah, easily.
We would have been a lot further forward. We tried, it didn't work.
Yeah.
So what else would you do better the second time, Grub? Pretty much just a couple of little things, right?
Yeah, it's more like
fitting the
technique.
supercharger first, right, to the bracket, then put the bracket in, and just little technique. It's like anything on a car. If we did this again, I reckon we could do it in a day.
Whole day.
And we've only done an 8-hour day today. It's not like we've done a 16-hour day.
No. It's been actually quite easy.
But yeah, no, look, it's been all right. The instructions have been actually pretty good. Definitely on the better end of the instructions I've received.
I'd say 8 out of 10.
I will admit the kit's changed slightly from some of the photos and the instructions, but overall, like
that was a bit misleading in places. But
if you're handy with the tools and you've worked on cars before, you could do it. But if you're a full noob,
not a noob job.
I don't think this is a full noob job. This is definitely you've spun spanners before. We've never installed a supercharger kit ever.
No. And it wasn't hard.
And it wasn't that hard. Like there's a couple of annoying
bits.
It's
fiddly and it's more fiddly than
fiddle. Did you say?
Yeah, fiddle.
Okay.
Just
let's go. See you tomorrow.
I guess that's it.
In our next episode, we finish off the supercharger install and get it on the dyno and test it at the track. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the action. Don't forget to head over to Benny's Custom Works to see how his Commodore Ute build is going as well.